The television friends on For You Television, you're all welcome to joining us on the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. Our big stories of tonight. Day after day, Russia is pounding the Donbass region of Ukraine with relentless artillery and air raids, making slow but steady progress to seize the industrial heartland of its neighbor. Plus, Algeria is currently facing European Union criticisms over tense bilateral relations with Spain as the Russia-Ukraine crisis deepens. Once more, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. I am Tekewana at the anchor in Douala. We begin this day from Netherlands, where we are told that Felicien Kabuga is a suspected Rwandan genocide financier, has been found fit to stand trial. He is accused of genocide incitement to commit murder and crimes against humanity. As you tell us more, Nota Bianche.
The United Nations International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals ruled that Felicien Kabuga could stand trial. The 87-year-old man is a suspected financier of Rwanda's 1994 genocide, which claimed more than 800 lives. He presided the National Defense Funds of the Radio Télévision Libre de Mille Collines, which broadcast calls for the killing of Tutsis. The United Nations Court decided that Kabuga shall remain detained in the Hague branch of the mechanism and that his trial shall start there until otherwise decided, adding that the suspect should be subject to periodic monitoring by a panel of independent medical experts every 180 days from the filing of this decision. The decision comes after Kabuga's lawyers had sought to halt proceedings on health grounds. Kabuga was arrested in May 2020 in a Paris suburb after 25 years on the run. He is accused by the MICT of genocide, incitement to commit genocide and crimes against humanity.
The Battle of Donbass could prove decisive in the Ukraine war, according to war experts. They insist Russia's focus in the conflict is now Donbass and could decide the direction of the entire war. As you tell us, Ekume Abane.
4 months into the war between Russia and Ukraine, and there is already high stakes that Russia is pounding the Donbass region of Ukraine with relentless artillery and air raids, making slow but steady progress to seize the industrial heartland of its neighbor. According to analysts, if Russia prevails in the Battle of Donbass, it will mean Ukraine loses not only land but perhaps the bulk of its most capable military forces, opening the way for Moscow to gain more territory and dictate its terms to Kyiv. But a Russian failure in the battle could lay the grounds for a Ukraine counteroffensive and possibly lead to a political upheaval for the Kremlin, who has made it clear it expects Ukraine to recognize all the gains Russia has made, including its 2014 annexation of the Crimean Peninsula, something which the authorities in Kyiv have ruled out. At the moment, Russian forces control the entire Sea of Azov coast, including strategic port of Mariupol, the entire Kherson region, a keyway gate to Crimea, and a large chunk of the Zaporizhia region. Also, Ukraine is losing between 100 and 200 soldiers a day in this perilous war, which leave political and economic analysts to ponder over the question if the Battle of Donbass could prove decisive in the war.
Let's now come down to our beloved African continent, beginning from Ethiopia, where we are told that for the very first time, the Ethiopian Prime Minister has come out to talk about peace negotiations with Tigrayan rebels. This move, according to critics, is against what they've been canvassing for. As you tell us, Leyuga Fonyonga.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed spoke for the first time publicly about the possibility of peace negotiations with Tigrayan rebels, who have been locked in a 19-month war with federal forces, dispelling speculations that secret talks were already underway with the Tigray People's Liberation Front. The committee will be headed by Deputy Prime Minister Demeke, who also serves as Foreign Minister, and will draft a report detailing and preconditions for negotiations. The comments follow the government's declaration of an identified humanitarian truce in March, paving the way for humanitarian aid to reach the northwest region of Tigray for the first time since mid-December. The conflict had driven hundreds of thousands of people to be the brink of famine, displaced more than 2 million, and left more than 9 million in need of food and aid, according to the United Nations. The TPLF repeatedly said that Western Tigray, which has been occupied by Amhara forces since the war erupted in November 2020, is a non-negotiable part of Tigray. The TPLF has already asked the United Nations Security Council to ensure that withdrawals of Amhara forces and Eritrean troops from the region are evident. Accounts have emerged of mass rapes and massacre during the conflict, with both sides accused of human rights violations.
And of course, from one crisis country to another, from Ethiopia, we go down to Burkina Faso, where we are told that a dark mood it is across Burkina Faso, where yet another jihadist attack has been recorded in the north part, which has left over 79 persons dead. This has been termed as one of the deadliest attacks orchestrated by the jihadist movement. Nota Bianche completes the story for us.
Following the bloodshed, the government began a 3-day mourning. The West African nation familiar with news of this kind is shaken. The attack is the deadliest since the military seized power in January over frustration at failure to stem the insurgency. If the people once thought the dark days of large-scale jihadist attack were long gone, the latest is a reminder that the threat is still present and brutal. Dieudonné Zungrana is the director of the daily newspaper, and he says nearly 5,000 people have died over the last 2 years in Burkina Faso due to violence blamed on Islamic extremists. The Sitenga attack is the second deadliest recorded in Burkina Faso after the June 2021 attack on the village of Sohan, also in the north near Niger, where 132 people were killed according to the government, but according to locals, there were 160. The country's new strongman Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandago Damimba, who overthrew elected President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore at the end of January on charges of being ineffective in dealing with jihadist violence, had promised to make the security issue his priority. Since 2015, attacks attributed to jihadist group have left 1,000 dead and nearly 2 million displaced in Burkina.
Now, members of the European Union have frowned at the new romance between Algeria and Spain, lately at a point in time when most European nations are hustling to find alternatives to Russian energy import to protest Russia's war in Ukraine. The details with you, Ekume Abane.
The Minister of Economy in Spain, Nadia Calvino, says Algeria's decision to break a decades-old friendship treaty with Spain has frozen economic links with what she describes as the North African countries' increasing alignment with Russia. The move was seen as a retaliation after Madrid came out in support of Morocco's attempts to keep Western Sahara under its rule, whereas Algeria supports the territory's independence movement. On Friday, the European Union warned that it was prepared to take action to defend the interests of its members when Algeria appeared to do a U-turn when its mission at the European Union issued a statement saying the country had never suspended the treaty. Moreover, Algeria continues to block trade, and the Foreign Ministry has called the European response hasty and unfounded. In a strongly worded communique, it added that there was a political disagreement of bilateral nature between Madrid and Algiers that should not concern the European Union. However, Calvino welcomes the EU's move, adding that the treaty suspension will drag on the Spanish economy. She says the most important thing at this moment is that Algiers changes its position and retreats. Meantime, Spanish officials also say they are hopeful that talks with Algiers will resolve the issue soon, because Spain's chief worry is that the suspension might affect important gas supplies from Algiers, since Algeria supplies 23% of Spain's gas needs.
Now, the British government has vowed to organize more flights to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda after last-minute court judgment grounded the first plan due to take off under the controversial deal. Details with you, Leyuga Fonyonga.
The first flight due to take asylum seekers from the UK to Rwanda was cancelled minutes before takeoff after legal ruling on Tuesday evening. Up to 7 people have been expected to be removed to the Eastern African country. But the flight was stopped after a late intervention from the European Court of Human Rights led to fresh challenges in the UK courts. The Rwanda asylum plan announced by the government in April sees some asylum seekers who cross the channel to the UK given a one-way ticket to Rwanda to claim asylum there instead. The government said the scheme will discourage others from crossing the English Channel. The cancellation of the flight followed days of argument in UK courts, ending with the Home Security getting the go-ahead to begin transporting some of the asylum seekers. A Boeing 767, chartered at an estimated cost of £500,000, had been due to take off at 10:30 from a military airport in Wiltshire. But judgment from the court, halting the deportation of one of the men, arrived just at 7:30 and triggered a series of legal challenges in London courts. By 10:15, all the passengers had been removed from the plane, which then returned to Spain. Whereas the High Court in London had found that KN could be returned to the UK if his bid is overturned by the Rwandan transportation policy and also if it had succeeded. The court said there was no legal enforceable mechanism to ensure he could come back from East Africa.
We keep our fingers crossed to the relationship between Rwanda and the UK as far as asylum seekers deportation is concerned. Now let's talk something else now, where state officials in the littoral region are converging on Bonamosadi for a 2-day semi-annual regional administrative meeting for the year 2022. Declaring open the deliberation today was Littoral Governor Dodone Ivahadi Boam, who exhorted his collaborators to carve out a well-structured plan for the region to benefit all denizens. The details in the full report.
It is a yearly tradition in Cameroon for the 10 regional governors to meet with other state administrative heads in their respective areas of command to examine government action in the execution of government projects, especially in the domains of health, security and economy.
But we are working hand in hand with populations, administrative authorities and gendarmes and policemen. We are working hand in hand, and that's why I was saying that we have a case of bandits in our quarters. It's better to give information on time, and when we have the information we react also. But some people are just waiting for the situation to occur, to finish, even taking some WhatsApp and send it after all. So I'm appealing people to cooperate with the administrative authorities and policemen, gendarmes.
It explains the holding of the semi-annual regional administrative coordination and law enforcement meeting, which had in attendance all the living forces of the littoral region, political, traditional and religious authorities, to all seek a common way to go about handling affairs of the region, which the officials insist collaboration between the population and them could play the magical tone.
So that's the city of Douala is the biggest one in Cameroon. We have more than 4 million of inhabitants in this city, and it's not easy to be behind everybody. So that's why we have to cooperate. And when the information goes well, the city is also calm.
However, the officials segmented into different working groups were handed the responsibility Wednesday, June 15, to carve out a well-structured plan for the region that will impact the lives of each and every denizen of the littoral region.
Now, still talking about local development, the single window caravan of the Douala City Council on administrative certificates relating to land use and construction is in the Douala 5 subdivision after a successful mission in the Douala 4 subdivision. Their mission is to provide ample information to denizens on how to go about establishing land certificate. The details in this report.
The moving train of the Douala City Council in sensitizing denizens on the importance of establishing administrative certificates relating to land use and construction after the Douala 4 municipality has planted its stand at the heart of the Douala 5 municipality, precisely in Bonamosadi, calling for potential house owners and to visit their stand and tap first-hand information to relax the process, which before now has been termed complex. Douala is expanding, and we are certainly in need to regulate our town planning strategy, beginning with sensitization campaigns, which are well on course. According to traditional rulers in the Douala 5 subdivision, it is a well-calculated decision by the Douala City Council in preaching the importance of establishing the said documents. It is a laudable initiative from the Douala City Council. Before now, we never used to have issues relating to land documents as compared to today because of the ever-growing population in the city of Douala. Nevertheless, the actors dispatched on the field are poised of obtaining a positive feedback from the population.
In Douala 5, our target point is to reach the whole population in Douala 5. That is our main target. And in Douala 5, there are a lot of construction moving around in disorder. We are trying to do our best so that all the population in Douala 5 should be concerned in what the City Council in Douala is doing.
The caravan of the Douala City Council of the single window to facilitate the delivery of administrative certificates relating to land use and construction will for the next 3 days at the esplanade of the office of the divisional officer of Douala 5 and Paco Vita provide ample information to Douala denizens on how to go about obtaining the prescribed documents. After Douala 5, the caravan shall make a stop in the Douala 3 subdivision for a similar exercise.
Let's now talk health in this newscast, whereby recent statistics posted by the UN Humanitarian Coordination Office says Cameroon since 2021 recorded 8,241 cases and 154 deaths with the resurgence of the cholera epidemic. The details with you, Nota Bianca.
Up to the end of May, the Ministry of Health had recorded 8,241 cases and 154 deaths in the country, according to a statement from the United Nations Humanitarian Coordination Agency, OCHA. 7 of Cameroon's 10 regions are affected by the epidemic. The southwest region remains the most affected by the cholera epidemic with 5,628 cases and 19 deaths, followed by the littoral region with 2,208 cases and 58 deaths. Access to the southwest region, which had been plagued by a bloody war between the Anglophone separatist militants and the army for several years, remains difficult. The United Nations added that it had approved a $1.7 million through the Central Emergency Response Fund for projects led by UNICEF and the World Health Organization, amongst others. Cholera is an acute diarrheal disease that is treatable with antibiotics and hydration, but can kill within hours if left untreated. The previous outbreak of cholera killed 66 people in Cameroon between January to August 2020. In the early 2021, World Health Organization estimated that there were 1.3 to 4 billion cases of cholera and 21,243 deaths from the diseases worldwide each year.
And of course, ladies and gentlemen, that health report puts a wrap to today's 6 p.m. primetime newscast on For You Television. We want to thank you all immensely on behalf of the entire team for your kind attention. Until we meet again tomorrow, what must have made news in Cameroon, Africa and the world is goodbye from Stockholm, Sweden. Goodbye from Maseru, Lesotho. God bless Motherland Africa. Bye-bye.
Bonjour et bienvenue sur France 24. Nous sommes à La Haye et notre invité aujourd'hui est Charles Blégoudet. Charles Blégoudet, bonjour.
Bonjour, monsieur.